All right, everybody, we are really
Ooh.
happy to have you here tonight.
Is it where we are, Jay, in front of the speakers? Okay. Go sit down.
So, again, we are really happy to have you here again tonight. We always enjoy sharing about our week that we are away. I always feel like we're different people as a group, especially when we come back than when we first leave. I'll tell you just a little bit about the organization that we work with, and then each of the students has some different things to share with you about our trip. So we team up with Team Effort. That's the name of the organization that we use. They run these kind of camps in multiple locations across the country, and we just chose this location. And at this location, this Gatlinburg location, they actually team up with a local organization named Live It. And they were kind of like sort of like our home base. Kind of made me think of Mosaic, like the way Mosaic used to be here. They have the coffee shop, the thrift shop, and then they have this whole tool shed, which is where we would always meet to go get the tools. So anyways, our day would start out with devotions, breakfast, get to the job site, work for the morning, lunch, work for the afternoon, get back to the campus that we stayed at. We stayed on a campus of I believe it was a boarding Christian high school. Come back, have shower time, some free time, supper, and then we would have our chapel time, which was all organized by Team Effort. So really a nice structure to the day. We've really enjoyed using this organization. So each of the kids is also going to be telling you about different parts of our week. So,
All right. Ooh, that's really hot. All right, so each of the students, we kind of asked them to break up the week into a few different categories, I suppose you could say. So one of them will tell you a little bit about the chapel times and kind of focus on a spiritual aspect of the trip. One of them will tell you about the work that we did, all of the different work sites we were at and different people we worked with. One of them will tell you kind of just about stuff we did together as a group, kind of bonding, getting to know each other a little bit better. And then one of them will tell you about our fun event. Hopefully they won't share all the details because there was a really big hiccup on my end. So that will be stricken from the record tonight. But I think we had fun anyways. And then we'll just close out the evening together and have some ice cream. So I guess we can just start right at the top. I will get out my phone because I don't remember the order we put these in. And I also wasn't able to get music added to the slide, so I'm playing it on my phone, which you can't hear, but they can hear, and it means a lot to them. Make sure you ask them after what was up with the song that was playing. I'm sure they would love to tell you about it. Yes, it also explains the map of Santa Fe. All right. Yes. Yes. So we gave them the questions and kind of had them choose which one they would like to answer. So whoever chose to answer number 1, discussing the chapel and spiritual aspects, you can start.
Okay, so... Okay, I'll stand up. So we had chapel every night after dinner. It was around 8 o'clock, and we would usually start with playing a game, and we would sing some songs, and then we had the message. So our theme verse was Deuteronomy 6:5. Love the Lord with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength. So each night we kind of focused on one different part. And so the first night was love, the second night was soul, and then we did mind and strength. So they kind of have a different person every night who did the message, and they had some different verses, and then the staff would tell part of their own story. And then after chapel, we had some group discussion time, and we talked about kind of the message and then also the devotional, which they gave us that we did in the mornings.
Okay, I'm talking about group bonding. So there's this song, It's called Parked Out by the Lake. It's the best song ever. I really recommend. We had about 4 versions in our playlist, and we sang it a lot. It was really awesome. You should listen to it sometime. So one of the things we did at night was we played a game of Uno No Mercy. It was really interesting. There was some cheating as usual, but it was really fun. And we went on a walk one evening, and we tried to go to Taco Bell because Lydia wanted a Baja Blast, but Chicken Patty would not let us do that, so we had to come up with a different plan. But we ate a whole pack of Oreos while we were walking. Also, when we drove to our work sites and just anywhere in town, there was a lot of firework tents, and we really wanted to stop and get some fireworks, but Will and Patty would not let us. And so, we bonded over that disappointment. So, okay.
I know, I'm just so mean. Also, Taco Bell was like, 2-3 miles away down 2 very busy roads?
No, it was 1 mile. It was 1
down
mile.
very busy roads.
So we had, 4 work days, technically 3.5. On our first one, we started by completing flooring for a house that another team had started. They had done the living room, which was at the front of the house, all the way to the kitchen. And so we picked up on the bedroom, which is on that picture right there. And this one took us absolutely forever to start it. But after the first 2-3 hours, it took maybe an hour to get half the room done. So then for the next section, so this took us the 1.5 days. We had the one little sliver left that we had to put in. And so that wasn't too terribly bad, I don't think so. But so for the next half of the second workday, we went outside to replace spindling for a ramp connected to a front porch. And we ran into lots of problems along the way. So the most tedious part was not the work. It was having to wait for 3-4 hours for our team leader, for our staff leader to get there with the nails that we did not have. And after receiving the nails, we found out that we needed a drill and screwdriver instead because the nails kept bending inside the spindles and they were way too long and others were way too short. So after that, we had another 1-2 hours of waiting for more equipment to arrive, and we after getting that, we had more issues with cracking the spindles. So we took them. I think it rained the day. Yeah, it rained, so they were all muddy and stuff. But we pre-drilled holes, and then after that, putting them in was pretty easy. No big problems. And on our third day, we went to another work site, which had a bit of an address mix-up. So we stopped at 2 different properties, thinking that they were the one that we were looking for, only to find out the address that we were given didn't actually exist. And thankfully, we found the right one, but our van could not make it up that driveway. It was washed out in the corner and very steep. It was, big hill. So one of the neighbors let us park the van in their driveway, and it was kind of easy to just make the trip up there. And so the homeowner's name was, let's see if I can remember, find it, Dennis Talley. And we spent the day taking tree loppers and stuff and, clipping branches out of his driveway area and around the sides of the house. And so that was very hot outside at that time. It took us like 3-4 hours maybe. I don't remember. Something like that, yeah. But after that, we took a group picture, and I think we took 2, right? 2, and so those will be up there somewhere. And then on Thursday, we had a half day of work in which we helped somebody move someone else's stuff out of their house. And we didn't move like the whole house. We moved like a few pieces of big furniture and stuff like that. So they had like 2 big cabinets with lots of glass shelves and doors and stuff like that they didn't take long, but they were kind of tricky because, all glass. And after that, we went to an assisted living home with the U-Haul that we are standing in right now. And sorry. And it was way faster to unload than it did to load. And I think that was pretty much all we did. And so after that, we did a fun activity, and Lydia, I think, will be the one to tell you about that.
So Thursday was a half day, and after work, we ended up going to a lake to try and cool off. And everybody recommended this lake, but it was really rocky and very busy. So we actually didn't stay for that long, I'd say. And then Friday we went to Dollywood, and we went and rode their rides for the day and walked around, and it was also very hot, but they gave out free water, so.
I'm proud of you guys for not ratting me out. Thank you very much. I'll explain it to some of you later. So now we have time for a couple of questions from the audience. If you have questions to ask the students or to ask Patty or myself, we would love to answer those for you, and then we'll close things out. Judy White?
So we stayed at King's Academy, which was a boarding school, and we did some research on them. Their school is actually K through 12, and you can stay there and for a lot of money, more than a lot of colleges. But and then we had food. What did we? Usually breakfast was like eggs and biscuits, and then we packed sandwiches for lunch and ate them at the work site. And then we had dinner on campus. We had, I think, spaghetti and what else? Burgers, tacos. Oh yeah, and then we stopped at Taco Bell the night after that, because Lydia was desperate for her Baja Blast. Okay, Lydia, I'm giving this question to you.
Oh, no.
Oh, she says no. Okay, there's 4 versions. The first one is the normal one, and then there's the piano version, the sad version, and live. Now, I don't actually know what the difference is between the live and the rest of them. Oh, I never noticed that. Oops, sorry, guys. Okay, I'll read you some of the lyrics. They're really, really original, okay? I'm still parked out by the lake, 80 miles from Santa Fe, and I'm sitting here, just parked out by the lake. If you're wondering where I parked, I'm out, parked by the lake. It's the lake that's 80 miles from Santa Fe. I think you can get the gist of it. It goes on like that for probably 3 more minutes.
And it goes on and on and on and on. And it's really about absolutely nothing.
No, it's about the lake, obviously. That's probably not it, but that's a lake. Yeah, it's really sentimental. The sad version is so emotional. I recommend listening. That's a lot. Who wants to start? I just talked.
I can start. I can start. Well,
Start on this end. Patty and I will go, and then we'll just hand it down.
that
So go
sounds
ahead.
perfect. One of the ladies that we worked with, she was just a neat lady, probably 80 years old. I know that she really appreciated that we were there. You could tell she really enjoyed having somebody to talk to. It was very hard to actually get away from her and get back to work. But she was just a really neat Christian lady. She just talked about the churches that she and her husband, I think, had started, and she donated a hammer and a level to us, which we gave to the Live It people to add to their tool shed because she hoped that they might be used to build more churches. So it was just a neat lady.
So at the house the first house we went to, they had a team just like us there the previous week that did some of the flooring that Jasper talked about. And the homeowner, his name was Joel, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him about what had happened to him, but he had some sort of accident or event in his life where his arms had a lot of metal rods through them, a lot of surgeries, and so he was very limited in what he was able to do. And their house really needed some new flooring, and so that's why we were there to help them put the flooring in. And he was the sort of the epitome of Southern gentleman. He was very, very kind, very appreciative of the work that we were doing. I mean, any chance he got, he was just thanking us over and over again. He was so happy that we were there, and he was very happy with the work that we were able to do. And I really appreciated meeting Joel.
I really didn't get time to think this one through. But I think one of the biggest impressions was also Connie, the lady that Patty had talked about. She had shared so much about like all of the churches she had planted. I think there were 3, and I think 2 of them are still standing. And so it was really nice to hear about that. She shared a lot about like her life and her late husband who survived. I don't even remember what it was. I don't know how to say it. But he survived 4 years and 4 months of that, which the hospital they had been to said that had like never happened before. And so it was like a crazy thing to hear about, that he had survived so long in such a tough condition. And yeah, it was great to hear about like all of the stuff that she had done in her life, and now she's in her little house.
One person that came to mind was Joel's wife named Carla, and she was, you could just tell that she had a lot on her plate. She was taking care of her, I think, her daughter's kids, and she also, next door was Connie, her mother, and she was taking care of her, so it was just great to talk to her, and I could tell that she had a lot on her plate, and she has a big heart, so that was really cool.
The person that made the biggest impression on me was also definitely Connie. I was helping her move things well, not helping her, she was watching me move things for her to put in the air conditioner, and so that she could sit outside on her porch and read. And she asked me to go outside and look out the window and see if I could see if her flowers were blooming, because she wasn't able to go out and see. and that just made a big impression on me. I don't know, because she couldn't see her flowers, but I could describe them to her and tell her that they were.
I would also say Connie. She just was a really nice and like kept on offering stuff to us. So we were getting ready to leave, and she wanted us to take her flowers because she wanted us to appreciate her flowers and spread them somewhere else. And like if we wanted food, she was offering us sandwiches or like air conditioner, which it was nice on the hot day.
I think I would say the man that we helped with his yard work. I don't remember his name, but Jasper said it earlier, Dennis. And he told us at the beginning, he was like, I'm really sorry that I can't help you more. Like, my kids used to help me with all this, and I used to do that before, so I'm just really grateful that you guys are able to come out and help. And he was offering us Gatorades and waters, and he was like, you know, guys, if I had known, like, ahead of time, I would have made, like, hot dogs for you. And he really was just trying to, like, help us in any way that he could, since he wasn't able to do things that we had to do for him.
Yeah, Dennis was he was a really cool guy. He had lots of stories. He owned a photography and videography company for a long time, and he was a musician. He had an open binder on his desk that had the Nashville number system on it, which doesn't mean anything to anyone unless they're a musician. And he was just so tickled that I knew what that was. And so he told me all these stories about one of his buddies who won a Dove Award for a Southern gospel song way back in the 70s, and told me how to look it up because it's on YouTube somewhere. He was a really cool guy. All right, any other questions for the kids?
I think we know who this question goes to. Will, I'm looking at you.
So they told me that they would boycott any hard questions.
He wrote this, and he couldn't even explain it to us.
Nice. I'll go first. Fruit snacks. Always a banger.
The pack of gum.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
30 minutes times 4 later, they're here.
It sort of became a saying in the group that like we only had to wait 30 more minutes because that was what we were told many times. Just 30 more minutes. Sorry.
Were you able to put that time into?
Yeah, a lot of that time was those conversations with Connie. Yep. I'll try and answer Jane's question a little bit. I think this was my very first ever team effort trip, and for the students as well. Patty's been on several, so she kind of had a little bit of an idea of what to expect, which was very helpful for me. She was kind of spoon-feeding me information, which was very nice. And so I kind of got to show up almost as a veteran. And but like everything's different. You've always got different staff, different team. They're moving around different places. They're in different places around the country. So depending on where you go, they've got different team leaders, different directors, all that kind of stuff. And so it was very eye-opening to me that they have a lot of things they're trying to juggle. They seemed to have a fairly small team in terms of who we saw. I don't know if there were more people there that were behind the scenes, but they seemed to be running a pretty lean operation. And so that, I'm sure, played into some of the waiting that we experienced and maybe the lack of preparation on work sites. But I think that one of the ways that they handled everything really well, and so if I can say that maybe they changed, I don't know if it maybe changed in them, but at least something they were forced to deal with was, what do we do with our time? So there was lots of fillers. They got to do a lot of, we played stuff together. They were able to talk to people. We had to figure a lot of things out on our own, which is one of the reasons that the flooring took so long to get started on. We were not giving any instruction on how to handle the flooring. It was just kind of like boxes are over there, the room's over there, I gotta go. And so I feel like Chloe did a great job of kind of like stepping up and figuring things out, and then showed everyone how else to, here, do this, and then it was off to the races. So they were able to adapt quickly, so maybe they'll be better at adapting. But one thing I can tell you is they are excellent at flooring. So they did not leave that way, and they are coming back as florists. Well. Deb.
I feel like he really gave us patience throughout this week, definitely, and maybe even forgiveness. So I think we can all, I can say for all of us, I think that's something we worked on together.
This case was unique because Team Effort partners with Live It in this specific location. On the Team Effort website, you can apply for help, and then they kind of decide how, which projects to do based on where people are located, because they only have so many spots that they work in. But with this organization, people come to Live It, and so they kind of have this long list of all of these projects that need help. So when Team Effort shows up in Gatlinburg, they're kind of given a list and say, try and find teams to match up with these projects. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because Live It has a like a coffee shop and a thrift store, and then they kind of fund a lot of their work with that money, and so everyone around kind of knows about them, and so it's a lot of the people who need help know about them through word of mouth.
Well, okay, this is a very complicated situation because so hey, now let's not blame anybody. The last person ended in the doorway, and there was about this much flooring that stuck through on the doorway. So if we'd just been able to start with like full pieces, it would have been fine, because we could have just like set it against a wall and then just started putting them all in place after that. But we had to cut pieces that were the same as the one that was already sticking into the room. So the first thing, we only had a little box cutter, so then we had to figure out how to cut all the pieces. And we had a tiny little flat edge, and that wasn't long enough, so we had to figure out some other ways to cut. And so we didn't know how to get the pieces to lock in, so we kind of just set them there and hoped that later they would click in, like the more that we added in. No, that didn't work. So we were trying to get them to lock in with like a mallet and like hitting them in, but we discovered as we were hitting them, they were pushing underneath the drywall, and then since we'd only cut so much flooring, then there was like a gap, and so it was really tricky. So what I tried was finding scraps to like wedge behind the first pieces so that they wouldn't slide back. So Lydia sat very conveniently on the warped flooring and held some pieces while we set up the rest. That was a fun 30 minutes for you. Oh yeah, we had to take that first piece out, the one that was originally sticking into the room that we hadn't done. We had to take that one out and like scrape away at the floor because it was warped and it wasn't like sitting flat. So we had to pull up some nails and stuff underneath there. And that took us probably 3.5 hours. We didn't get really anything done before lunch. Yeah.
Yeah, that first day we were all feeling a bit discouraged at lunch because it was like, why don't you guys go, like, take a break, eat some lunch, and I'll see what I can figure out while you're out there. And so, like, after, I don't know, something in the food, after they came back from lunch, it was just like, I have an idea. And then it was, I wouldn't quite say smooth sailing, but we found our groove.
Smoother.
Smoother.
Yeah, after we figured out how the pieces actually locked together, then it went pretty well.
And they also learned how to share a rubber mallet because we only had one. Aaron?
Guys, I've talked the whole night.
I'd say it's a lot about helping others and you learn a lot from them. And a lot of them are older, so they have more experience with their faith and they're just able to share stories.
I think it's also a lot about bonding with your group and also growing in your relationship with God and like having that time where you're separate from your normal life to like find just a special time to think about God.
I think there were at least 4 other groups, so I think there were 5 total.
Yeah, the other groups were definitely a lot larger than our group. We noticed that the very first night they like introduced us to like the staff member that was going to be helping each church, and we were standing there and we were like, okay, there's like 5 of us here, and everybody else it was like 20, maybe even 30 people. So that was kind of intimidating at first. And then we talked to Carla, the first homeowner that we worked with, and she said that the last group that had helped her was like 40 people running around her property.
We were the loudest group.
That was just some of the decoration at Dollywood, and it helped with shade.
There was some lady who lived in like a apartment underneath where we were staying, and it was her dog, and she would put out a chair, and it would just sit there, and we would all pet it as we walked past.
So on our way down, Patty told the group, I'm going to give you 15, 20 minutes to think about this question and tell us like 2 things that you're most excited about this trip. And I think almost everyone, maybe everyone said the thing they were looking forward to, at least one of the things, was kayaking in Red River Gorge because they have kayaking in the caves. And that's what we had booked as our fun event for Friday. And I was really looking forward to it. It's amazing. But they have a requirement. You've got to call 24 to 48 hours ahead to check in and make sure you've still you're still keeping your reservation. So at breakfast the day before, I went and told Patty, like, hey, I'm going to go step outside. I need to call Red River Gorge and confirm our reservation. And they couldn't find it. So I'm like, well, I'm staring at the email. I have a reservation number and everything. So she took a little more information from me, and she said, this is a reservation for last Friday, and we have 7 no-call, no-shows. And I said, well, can we move it till tomorrow? And she said, absolutely not. We are completely booked up. So then I had to go and tell the group that the fun activity was a bust, and Patty and I had to come up with something on the fly. But we were in Gatlinburg. We had lots of options, so we decided instead of the nice, cool caves, we were going to go bake in the sun. But we got to see Dollywood, so you win some, you lose some.
I think the strategy was to get out as many roller coasters as possible because the wind. It was so hot. Hey, there's one of them.
Deb? Yeah, I was surprised at how far out you've got to book that. All right. I think that about wraps it up then. All right, and so thanks very much for coming. I know it means a lot to the students to be able to see everyone who shows up, and one of the things they told me was they really, really wanted to get up in front of everybody and talk. So I was very happy to make that happen for them. And it was a trip where at least I learned a lot. Like I said, it was my first time working with team effort and live at the 2 different organizations there. Getting to meet some of the team and kind of just figuring things out. We had to figure out a lot of stuff on the fly, which was awesome. Patty was a great person to have to bounce ideas off of. We were able to come up with stuff. The students themselves were very ingenuitive and able to come up with solutions as well. And then before we wrap things up, I wanted to recognize Randy and Patty. So Randy, if you don't mind, maybe Patty, if you want to come down to this end, and everybody just slide down so they can kind of sit down here together. So some of you might know this, some of you might not know this, but the original plan for us was to be here like in December. Sell the house, get out here, and kind of hit the ground running in December and have a switch off. That was when Patty and Randy were going to be able to step away from Roots and enjoy a new season of life. And things just didn't quite. Actually, it probably was even earlier than that. And then December was like the pushback date. Yeah. And then we showed up in March. So yeah, just 30 more minutes. Yep, just 30 more days. I only needed 30 more days. And they were very gracious, incredibly helpful to be able to fill that gap for me. It was really difficult being in Pennsylvania and feeling like, man, we've got to get there. They're waiting for us. They're expecting us. But every time I talked to Pastor John or Patty, it was like, it's fine. Like, we'll still be here when you get here. And this was not a small thing. They've been working in this ministry for a long time. They were able to meet and help so many of your children who are now out in the world or away at college, and then now this new group here. So I just wanted to take a moment to recognize them, thanking them for their many years of service to the Lord and to this church for this ministry. So let's just give them a hand clap a little bit. And this is just kind of a small token of our appreciation. I also have a card and a gift over there. However, I showed up and panicked because we didn't have a slideshow. So instead of getting the students to sign the card, I worked on the slideshow. So I'll give you the card afterwards at ice cream. But there are some flowers for you. Yes. Patty, I wanted to give her some flowers just as a special thank you because she, even though was technically done in October, stayed through and personally committed herself to the mission trip, which was incredibly helpful. Yeah, I would have loved to have Alicia with me, but if it was just me and Alicia down there trying to figure stuff out without having someone who's done it so many times, we would have been up a creek. So it was very, very helpful to have Patty there. So thank you again, Randy and Patty. It's been great working with you. You've laid a great foundation, and we're excited for the future with Roots and excited to see what you guys do next as well. All right. All right, I will say a word of thanks, and then we can enjoy some ice cream. Lord God, thank you for each one of these students and the opportunity that we had to spend some time together on a road trip and to do some work in Gatlinburg. We thank you for the people and the jobs that you were able to line up for us, the work that we were able to do. And even though there were parts of the trip that were difficult and the heat was in some ways extreme, we thank you for sustaining us and keeping us safe there and while we were there and on the way back. I thank you for Randy and for Patty and for their work here with Roots over the past several years. Thank you for the foundation that they've laid and for all of the work that they've done with so many students that they've been able to see come up through Roots and then out to college and out into the world. And we thank you for that ministry work. We pray for everyone who came out here tonight. Thank you for their support of these students and for the church. And now we pray that you would bless our time of fellowship as we enjoy some ice cream. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.